Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating guest. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
My name is Larry Kesslin. I'm based in a terrible place called San Diego, California. I've been living here for about 13 years, moved here from New York City back in 2010. A little bit about me. The last, 10 years of my life, I just turned 60. The last 10, 11 years of my life have really defined who I am as a person today. I'll give you a little bit of history. Born in New York, raised mostly in New Jersey, graduated from school at Rutgers University and started working in the corporate world in 1985. By 1993, working at GE for about 5 years, I decided that the corporate world was not for me. I started looking at all the people in my life that had a life anything close to what I wanted. And just about all of the people that had a life anywhere close to the one that I saw myself having owned their own business. And I spent a week in February of 1993 in Colorado working with 85 inner city kids. And I picked up 12 of them in New York, down from the Henry Street settlement on the Lower East Side, got them on an airplane, flew them to Aspen, Colorado for the Grassroots Aspen experience run by this gentleman named John. And John was one of 5 or 6 Black gentlemen or people that lived in Aspen. And he would bring these inner city kids from New York and Denver, LA, New Orleans, and I think also Phoenix. We have 85 kids there, teaching them how to ski for a week. And after the week was over, it was Friday night. I was standing in this dark hallway and I could smell the burning fireplaces. And all I could hear was this laughter of these young people, 16, 15, maybe 17 years old. And here's this 29-year-old white man who was born in privilege, born middle class, went to college. It wasn't a choice of whether I was going to college, it was where I was going to college. And I'm looking at these kids and they don't have a fraction of what I have. And they were so much happier than I was. And that's been a theme in my life, is that I keep meeting these people that have so much less than I have in stuff. Yet they tend to be happier than I had been at that point in my life. And I went through and quit my job in 1993, met a gentleman who was starting a radio show about entrepreneurship. His name was Mitch Schlemmer. And I credit Mitch to a lot of stuff in my life. He was a good mentor for me at that point. And we started a radio show called Let's Talk Business and started an online community for entrepreneurs that turned into a face-to-face community, which we started in 1996. We interviewed hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs over 8 years. So I got to meet Richard Branson multiple times. Ken Blanchard became a friend. He's still a friend today. He lives here in San Diego. Got to be part of interviews with Lillian Vernon and Ben and Jerry and just some amazing people, and got to go to conferences for Inc. magazine and Success magazine and just met some of the most amazing humans that I could ever wish to meet. And I learned a lot about entrepreneurship. Launched our first peer group. A peer group is a group of small business owners that come together on a regular basis to compare notes, to learn from each other. So I started doing peer groups actually on my birthday on September 10th of 1996 was our first big community meeting, and we started launching peer groups then. And in 1999, I was recruited by Lucent. At the time, they were spinning off a phone division called Avaya. And they asked me, they said, you know a lot about technology. I'm a degreed engineer. I went to school for electrical engineering. And they asked me to start working with their business partners, because all Lucent did, or now Avaya did, was teach their business partners how to make their technology work. And they asked me, how can you help them run a better business? I said, the best way to help an entrepreneur run a better business is to have them spend time with other business owners that are facing the same challenges. So they did this 12-city roadshow. They started in New Jersey, and they did Chicago and Boston and Seattle and Minneapolis, and they did Atlanta. And I went to all these cities. And after the fourth one, after the fourth city, I realized that all these companies were very hyper local. And I said to the woman who was running channels, I said, do you mind if I start calling some of your partners and seeing if they'd be interested in getting in a peer group, non-competitive, based on the cities they were in? And that was the launch of a company we called For Profit. We launched For Profit officially in 2003. We were still part of Let's Talk Business and Let's Talk Business Network for a few years. And in 2003, we started working with IBM, launched a program for them. In 2007, launched a program for Cisco. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey for me. It has been so much fun to get to know so many business leaders. And through that process of getting to know the technology sector, I spent the next 10 years, from, let's say 12 years, from 2003 until 2015, helping hundreds and hundreds of resellers of technology for Cisco, IBM, HP, worked with the distributors. I worked with the entire ecosystem. I would speak at conferences, and wrote a book in 2010 about my experience with over 1,000 companies. So I basically took the meat of what I had learned and I put it in a book. The book's called Breakpoints. And Breakpoints is all about where businesses get stuck and how to get them unstuck. It's a story about an entrepreneur that made it, that successfully sold his business. And he was asked by an entrepreneurship class to teach their class for a semester. And he started the class off by telling the class, he says, I'm going to tell you everything that I did, every mistake I made, and the places I got stuck, and how I got through them. So the 7 breakpoints are charting your course. You need to understand, you need to have a plan. The second breakpoint was building your pit crew. You need to recruit and develop talent. The third breakpoint was communicating on purpose. And communication starts with understanding yourself. So we did a lot of work with all of our clients around self-awareness. One of my team members was a behavioral specialist. We did a lot of work with her, Joanne Myers. The next breakpoint, 85% of our clients had multiple owners. So we had a section called Partnership Pain. Can't tell you how many situations I've dealt with businesses where they had more than one owner, and the challenges between those owners. The fifth breakpoint, which is really what keeps companies from growing, is a scalable, reproducible sales system. And that's revving the engine. So revving the engine was the catapult to the next breakpoint, which is changing the guard. When you get from 10 to 40 employees, it's a different leadership team that needs to take you from 40 to 200 employees. And the last breakpoint is called CEO time. And CEO time, I say all the time on stage, I've met a lot of people that have CEO on their business card, but I don't meet a lot of CEOs. That journey took me on an amazing path, did really well as a business, allowed myself to move from New York to San Diego. And in 2011, met somebody on a beach in San Diego, and again, started a volunteer project. And this time, instead of a week in Colorado, I decided to spend a month in Africa. And the woman that I was working with was bringing computers to rural villages in eastern and northern Uganda. And I decided to take my wife and kids, and we went. My kids were 10 and 12 at the time. And we went to Uganda in late July into August of 2012. And I came back from that trip a changed person. I can't explain. I've spent a decade dissecting what it is that I learned and what has changed and transformed my life. So I get back from that trip. I land at JFK Airport 30 hours after leaving Nairobi, stopping in Cairo. And I'm sitting in the airport saying at 28, I defined success for myself. And my definition was the ability to do what I want whenever I wanted to do it. And by 48, 20 years later, I was able to go to Africa for a month, leave my business, have everybody else run my business, still make money. I had my paycheck coming and whatever. I was doing well. And I realized that I was done trying to be successful because I met all these people in Africa that were so much happier than anybody I know in the United States. And I was like, what is wrong with this picture? And I said, I'm done with success. I need to be significant. And I can tell you 10 years later that journey caused me to write my third book called Success Redefined. And that was all about the idea that success without significance wasn't success at all. So I redefined success as the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want to do it, while being part of something greater than myself. That need for significance was so big for me. And I'm not saying it's big for everybody. It just, for me, it was really important. And I've stopped judging other people about their need for giving back. And if you need to give back, if being purposeful and helping your family is your only thing you do, or helping one person is all you do, that's fine. But for me, I've had such bigger drive. And 2 years after I got back from Africa, I decided to walk away from my company. I didn't feel like my clients cared about giving back. I didn't feel like my team was very interested in giving back. And I just needed to focus my life on doing more. So I'd already planned a trip around the world with my kids. We were going to take a year off. I decided to make it 6 months since I didn't have any cash flow, took some savings and just shut it down. And when I got back in 2015, July of 2015, after spending 2 months in Australia, a little bit of time in the Middle East, and then 3.5 months in Europe, we came back and I started my business from scratch in San Diego. I didn't want to get on airplanes anymore. I wanted to design my life the way that I wanted it. And what I learned in Africa, what is the crux of my life today, is that what I found were these people were deeply connected. And my hypothesis is the reason they're deeply connected is because they have a purpose. Their purpose is survival. And when you're in survival mode, the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're connected to everybody else in survival mode because you have a shared purpose. And it's a purpose you don't have to think about. But in the United States, we're beyond survival. I would say 90+% of us are beyond survival. I don't consider keeping up with the Joneses being survival. I think there's people in the United States that do not have food, water, and shelter, and they're starving. I understand that. But for the majority of us that are beyond survival, we're living in this very selfish me world, which is love and belonging and self-esteem, and we need to find our own purpose. And the reason we need to find our own purpose, in my opinion, is that we need to stop connecting here and we need to start connecting here. And to me, joy, knowing who we are, what we are, and why we are, is my definition of joy. That when I am myself, when I am truly at my best, and I find others that have shared purpose, when I find others that want to leave this planet infinitely better than we found it, that are driven to be change makers, that want to go make a difference, those are the people that I connect with at such a deep level. It is just so fulfilling for me to spend time with others that care as much as I do about improving lives. And I spend most of my time today. I launched a new business about 4 months ago. I've spent the last 8 years really digging into San Diego. When I went to a conference 7 weeks after I got back from Africa, I was asked 3 questions: what is poverty? Who gets to define it? And why are we trying to fix it? And I realized that what I saw in Africa was not poverty. They were impoverished, but I think a lot of the poverty is in my own backyard. So when I got back from my trip, I decided I was going to focus my life on San Diego, focus my business on San Diego, focused on building my relationships in San Diego. And that's what I've done for the last 8 years. And I've met a few thousand people here, and I'm well connected. I enjoy the people I get to meet. I have 2 amazing partners in my new business that allows me to make a difference in entrepreneurs' lives. We actually bring structure and organization to our clients through a fractional COO. Our company is called Liberate. Our objective is to help entrepreneurs free themselves from their own companies. But all of this for me comes down to this need as humans to connect deeply. That I think the reason that most Americans do not feel joy on a regular basis and are stressed is because Madison Avenue and Hollywood have convinced us that consuming more stuff, that buying a bigger house or having a nicer car or whatever it is will make us happy. But the Harvard study over the last 85 years has shown that there's only one determinant for happiness, and it's the depth and quality of our relationships. And to me, that's all I've been chasing for the last decade, is how do I learn to be a better listener? How do I learn to be more present? How do I learn to connect with people at such a level that they feel like I'm with them, that I'm not just there? And I am far from great at it, but I'm infinitely better than I was 10 years ago. And I'm clear as to why it's important for me and why it's important for people around me to understand that depth of human connection is the only reason that we're here. I just don't understand why we don't teach it to children, why we don't teach it to everybody on a regular basis. To me, this idea of humanness, of getting to know another person, is at the root of everything we do and everything we need as creatures on this planet. And to me, that's what I do. I connect. I have a men's group that meets once a month. I do a lot of work with teen boys and volunteering. There's a organization here in San Diego called Boys to Men Mentoring, and they have a camp about an hour out of town where they do rites of passage for teen boys that are fatherless. And I do a lot of work with a military nonprofit called STEP, and I ride bikes with challenged athletes. I invest my time and energy in things that matter to me. They don't need to matter to anybody else. They're just the things that matter to me. And when I do things that matter to me, I meet others that have shared purpose. And it brings so much more joy to my life than someone who has a football team in common, or somebody that lived in the same town where I grew up, or whatever we use to find commonality. That shared purpose for me is just, that's the driver for life. So, Gertrude, I hope that was helpful in sharing my story. But thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much, Larry. You know, just listening to you speak is so inspiring. I watched your TED talk, and as a thought leader who's given a TED talk on the shared common purpose, how do you believe a shared common purpose can help bridge the gaps across diverse groups within a business ecosystem?
I'd say that the greatest opportunity we have in business is to stop focusing on money. To me, money is a scorecard and a byproduct. So a lot of the work I do at businesses now is to stop focusing on the financial part of the business as the entire scorecard. Shared values, being able to hire and fire to shared values. So you ask about purpose. The purpose of a business is to affect the world and affect the community around them. The scorecard, the way that we measure success, is financial return. But there are so many businesses, which is why I left the IT sector, is I felt like every business's only scorecard was money. And there's nothing wrong with money. Money to me is opportunity. Money to me is leverage. Money to me allows you the freedom to make choices. It's choice. But money is not what we pursue. I think if we want to be happy, and I truly believe if we want happiness, and I'll tell you one of the other challenges we face, and this is not to your question, but I think the biggest at the root of all of it is this concept of amorphousness. Is most people try to be happy and joyful, yet they don't have a definition for the words. It's this ethereal feeling that they're waiting to feel, and they have no idea what it is. So they're not happy and they're not joyful because they have no definition for it. Now, I have two simple definitions for the words happiness and joy, and they're not perfect for everybody, but they work for me. So happiness for me is getting my needs met: food, water, shelter, safety, love, air, and health. And I talked to somebody the other day who says, I've seen people that are happy that do not have their needs met. Yes. I'm like, that's great, but that's what makes me happy. And everybody's going to have a different definition. But if you have no definition, then I think it's hard to be happy. So that's part of it. The joy part for me is knowing who I am, what I am, and why I am. To me, that's joy. And joy is enhanced by people that Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Joy is enhanced. My headset was dying. Joy is enhanced by spending time with others that have shared purpose. That's my hypothesis. So the book that I'm working on now, the next one, is called The Joy Molecule. And the joy molecule is C squared P. Like the water molecule is H2O, mine's C2P, which is conscious connection plus purpose equals joy. So if you figure out how to connect consciously through what's purposeful, then you can have a lot more joy in your life than just connecting with people based on whatever. Your favorite cricket team, your favorite rugby team, your favorite baseball team, your favorite place, destination to travel. Those are all here. Those don't live here. And what I found in Africa was people that connect here. So in companies, if we can get people, purpose is important because we need people to start connecting here in the business community. The greatest lever we have in our society today is the business community. Number one lever. It's not government, it's not the church, it's not religion, it's corporate, it's businesses, they're global, they employ, that's where people spend most of their time. If we could teach the corporate business community, even the small business community, to inject purpose and to focus their intention on making the communities around them better, not just focus on the financial return of their product. But Wall Street doesn't allow that, and the stock exchange don't allow that. They don't want that. They want financial return. The truth is, there'd be more financial return if we focused on the purpose and we focused on the why. I mean, Simon Sinek has made a gazillion dollars talking about find your why.
Find your why.
It's not magic. It's just crucial.
So you've developed the 5-dot system for business development. Can you explain how this methodology incorporates diverse perspectives and fosters inclusive practices within organizations?
The 5 dots is basically when I left my company, the challenge that you face when you've been an entrepreneur is to figure out who you are. When you build a business from scratch over 20 years and you have no idea who you really are, you get out of a business and you have all this stuff you've done, but what is it that you really do best? And for me, my gift was business development. And my brother sent me a job description for a friend of his when I was struggling to figure out what was next for me. And he said, Larry, this job description describes you. And I read the job description. I started looking online for content around business development, and I couldn't find any. So I decided to create my own. And the name 5 Dots comes from Steve Jobs' commencement speech at Stanford in 2005, where he talked about you can't connect the dots looking forwards, you can only connect them looking backwards. And you have to trust that everything's happening in your life for a reason. So, and I love numbers and words. My last company was for profit, 5 dots, liberate with the number 8. I just like numbers and words and combinations and playing on things. And if you look at the liberate, if you turn 8 sideways, it's infinity, and we can make businesses infinitely better. I mean, there's fun ways to play with these numbers. But the 5 dots themselves, the first one is relationship development, is that if you want to talk about diversity and inclusion, understanding how to connect with other human beings starts with understanding how to connect with yourself. So connecting with self is step 1. Learning to have a one-to-one relationship is step 2. Learning how to work in small teams is connections, step 3. And one-to-many communications is step 4 of my 4 C's: communicate, 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 communicate. So personal relationship development is the first dot. The second dot is all about target market identification. Who are your ideal clients, and what is it that they need from you, and what is it that you want to go after? So what does your ideal client look like? The next dot is storytelling. Is what are the keys to tell great stories so that people understand what it is you do. And once you figure out your target market and your storytelling, then you engage your alliance partners. Your strategic alliance partners are the people that sell to the exact same client that you do, that don't do what you do, and would love to recommend you to their clients because what you do makes their job better. So I am in the business of helping companies become more profitable, helping companies become more engaged, putting in really good operational systems. So I've been meeting with companies that sell businesses for a living. And they all want their clients to be more profitable so that they can sell them for more money. So they're interested in introducing us to their clients because they're a strategic partner of ours. The last piece of the puzzle, the fifth dot, is relationship management. How do you stay connected with all these people? And to me, I have a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Some people are on a 30-day touch plan. Some people are on a 60-day touch plan. And some people are on a 90-day touch plan. Those are the 5 dots on the outside of the circle. On the inside of the circle of the model is this idea of really knowing your existing clients. And our clients are very diverse. So understanding their makeup, making up who they are, what they are. The next piece is about recruiting and developing talent. So if you're able to do those 7 things, build relationships, figure out your ideal client, tell great stories, figure out your strategic alliance partners, who they should be, and manage those relationships while clearly understanding your clients, being able to recruit and develop talent, new business will be a byproduct of that process. You don't go looking for clients. You build relationships, clearly articulate who your best clients are, tell great stories, engage your strategic alliance partners, manage those relationships, and new business will happen. That's the idea of the 5 dots.
I love that. Now, if I could take you back to the younger you, the young man who set out on this journey, on this quest to leave the planet a better place than you found it, that turning point in your life, if you could go back and give him 3 nuggets of wisdom, based on what life has taught you up to this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
Get out of your head. I have this theory now at this stage of my life that this is a crazy thought, but I've been saying it to a lot of people, and it's triggered me a lot. We have a conscious brain that is inspected. We can inspect. That's 10% of our. The scientists say they can understand what 10% of our brain was. 90% of it, they have no idea what it does, and it's basically our subconscious and our unconscious. And my belief at this point in my life is that, is it possible that our subconscious does everything and that our conscious is just there to mess with us? That we shouldn't be spending any time inspecting our brain. So stop thinking. Stop. If you want a book, I mean, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer talks about the voice in your head. It's probably the best book I've seen about that. The second thing I would tell myself is to stop worrying. Just let the world unfold. It is unfolding beautifully. It's just our expectations. And I would say the third thing is just be yourself. There's nobody else you can be. So why not be you? You're unique. You're the only one who has your experiences, the only one with your DNA, the only one with your everything. And just love yourself for who you are and stop questioning. Stop wondering whether people like you, don't like you. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you like you, that you love yourself, and that you're able to be present. So presence, get out of your head and be you. That's what I would tell myself.
All right. So my last question for you is something that I think you have helped me with this morning. And you refer to the state of flow. Now, I've experienced that many, many, many times in my life where I haven't pushed, I'm not efforting to get anything done, and magically things just kind of fall into place. Now, I think I told you a bit of my backstory. I've had a few tragic things happen to me that have kind of made me forget how to go back to that place. Do you have a process, a method that can help individuals like me go back into flow?
So my first mentor taught me about this thing. He used to call it whittling. So a business starts out with a tree trunk, and you got a penknife. And for the next 10 years, you're whittling and whittling and whittling and whittling away at the tree trunk. And at the end, you're hoping to get down to a toothpick. So what does flow have to do with the toothpick? Just let things happen the way they're happening. That we have so much attachment to what's going on that is not true. We have transferences. We're triggered by so much that's happened in our life over our lifetime. And it's not about us. It's not about anything other than how do we just accept what's in front of us. One piece of structure that allows me to do some of this is what I call the 20-80, or Pareto's law, whatever you want to look at it, is stopping doing things. You have to figure out what produces the best results. And for me, I'm interested in long-term results. So I could have gone and cold called for this new business and tried to find clients. But I knew that if I just stayed patient, figured out my story, clearly articulated my target market, and found my strategic partners, that business would come to us. And it's been 4 months. We've gotten a couple of good clients, and we have some really, really good leads, and the machine is starting to take hold. Now, I could have gone and spent hours and hours cold calling and trying to find clients. And I might have gotten one or two, but I wouldn't have been able to play pickleball. I wouldn't have been able to go bike riding. I wouldn't have been able to spend time with my kids. I would have become a workaholic. And to me, the world is not designed to be workaholics. That the freedom I have and the opportunity I have, especially living in San Diego, it's just like, why would I do that? So I've allowed myself to just let this thing unfold. And I do work every day. And I do the stuff that I know will produce results. I make appointments with the most important people in my network to make sure they know what we're doing, and to clarify the story, and to clearly articulate who our best clients are. And when I started, we were in the fractional COO business. I'm not in the fractional COO business. That's the tool I use. That's the hammer and the nail. My result is a beautiful home. I'm building a castle, and my castle is helping business owners get their life back by freeing them from their own bondage. 5 Dots is the business I had before Liberate. The new company is libr8me.com, Liberate Me, and that company is launched 4 months ago. I'm having a great time with 2 business partners. My partner Andrea works with me. She's a world-class COO. She was the COO of HP's inkjet printer business globally. She had a few hundred reports under her managing globally, and she was number 4 in line at HP inkjet printer. She left 12 years ago, has been working as a consultant in the startup industry here in San Diego for that time. And we were paired together by a good friend of ours. And I've had a blast, a great partner. And our investor, his name is Ron Harrell, is involved with the book Traction and the EOS Entrepreneurial Operating System. And he's a great friend and really good at what he does. And the 3 of us are just having a really good time. And we're going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So I'm so pleased with where my life has turned out. And you asked about flow. I literally wake up every morning. I meditate. I have a group of people I meditate with at 5 a.m. every day. I go out and I walk, or I bike ride, or I spend time with people. By 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, if I have work to do, I do it. If not, maybe I'll go play some pickleball, or I'll just read, or I'll go through my database of who it is that I need to reach out to. But I don't force it. I just don't force it. And I love the people that I'm dealing with today. I think the clients that we're meeting, we're going to help a ton. And I just am very passionate about it.
Larry, thank you so much for coming online today and sharing your story and your nuggets of wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure connecting with you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is bringing us people from all walks of life, different stories, empowering stories. So come back again tomorrow when I interview another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And thanks again, Larry.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gertrude. Bye-bye now.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely stay